Good evening. The meeting of the Monroe Township Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have a roll call, please, Mr. Gorski?
Ms. Antelis.
Here.
Ms. Arminio.
Here.
Mr. Braverman. Mr. Chiarella.
Here.
Mr. Kaufman.
Here.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Here.
Mr. Nostein.
Here.
Mr. Poi.
Here.
Mr. Prezioso.
Here.
Mr. Zarneski.
Here.
Madam Board President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted May 9, 2014. 1 at all schools, 2 Home News Tribune, 3 Cranberry Press, and 4 filed with the clerk of the municipality. And at this time, we will go to the Teacher of the Year Awards on our agenda, number 5. And before we honor each of our individual teachers, I have just like to say a few words about Teachers of the Year. And it's always been a pleasure to honor our teachers. And for the board, it's a highlight during the year because it's an opportunity to celebrate our outstanding teaching staff. And tonight we honor 8 of our best teachers. What makes this evening so special? It's because all of our honorees have been chosen by their peers, and not just for being great teachers, but for being great colleagues. What makes a great teacher? A great teacher sets high expectations for all students, is always prepared and organized, is innovative and engages students and gets them to look at issues in a variety of ways, forms strong relationships with their students and shows that they care about them as people, inspires the next generation, and most important, has a sense of humor. All of our honorees here tonight are great teachers, but they are also role models and caregivers, counselors and motivators, disciplinarian and problem solvers, and our district's most valuable assets. They go above and beyond the daily responsibilities of being a classroom teacher, and they deal with the whole child, the academic, social, emotional, and physical well-being of their students. Every day, they make a difference in the lives of children and help shape the future. And they are the ones our children will remember when they look back on their school years. They are always dedicated, caring, and always professional. They are special people. They are teachers. So on behalf of the Board of Education, I'd like to extend to our Teachers of the Year our deepest thanks, appreciation, and congratulations, and hope that your time in Monroe will continue to be successful and rewarding and very special. So at this time, Dr. Hamilton and I will award our Teachers of the Year with plaques.
Good evening, all. So the plaques read as follow. Monroe Township School District honors the teacher's name as the Teacher of the Year, and it's presented May 14th, 2014. This particular award goes to John Gleason as Teacher of the Year for Oak Tree School. Our next award is presented to Anya Shanholzer from Applegarth School. Our next award is Melanie Romney from Woodland School. Mill Lake's Teacher of the Year, Dominique Walters. From Monroe Township High School, Susan Rosati. Next up, from Monroe Township Middle School, Natalie Bird. Barclay Brook School, Paula Seitz. And last but not least, from Brookside School, Nancy Mills.
Before our board meeting, we had an opportunity to acknowledge all of our honorees and have a wonderful dinner prepared by our students from the Culinary Arts Department. And I would say that their dinner rivals anyone from a restaurant in Monroe. So they did a fantastic job, and we're very proud of them and the department. So at this time, we will go to our Applegarth School presentation. Dr. Hamilton, would you like to introduce the principal?
Gladly. Good evening, all again. I'd like to turn this portion of our evening over to our Applegarth principal, Mr. Dennis Ventrilo.
Our visitors and residents, so here's the premise. The premise is a special presentation tonight from the grade 5 students. We don't have enough for all the students to be here this evening, so they're a representation of the grade 5. We have their teachers here as well. And the assembly program, it's an annual assembly at Applegarth Elementary School, and it's called the Living History Museum. Bottom line, very quickly, is just the fact that obviously the students, through the curriculum, the instructional program, using technology, they research and become, obviously, the historical character that you see in front of you tonight. Now, here's the premise, and this is a good time. This is a fun thing for tonight. The kids have been waiting, obviously, for a long time to do this, but it requires your participation. So what I'm going to ask the board to do then is, obviously, all you have to do is to rise. You'll go up to any of the students. You can press the button in front of you. They have a little placard in front of them. They'll be holding them up. You'll know who it is that they're representing. They'll give you a little biological, insightful speech about the character that they researched. Then you'll just go to the next one. As soon as that one is done, you just go from student to student. This is their 15 minutes. It's not our 15 minutes. This is their 15 minutes. And I'm going to ask all of the other visitors back here as well, please make sure that every student has an adult in front of them. That's all I ask. I'll give you about 7 minutes. Let's go. This is for the children. Please, thank you. Don't be shy, adults. They're waiting for you. They've been practicing a long time. And please, adults, don't let any student be by themselves.
How are you? Oh, I came from work. How are you doing? Yeah, that's good. Everything's going well. Sorry, I dressed for the occasion. I'm a nursing student, so I just finished my semester.
Parents, adults, board members, just keep on moving. After you hear one presentation, just find another. Students have been practicing. We probably only have about another 3 minutes or so.
Aren't they amazing? It's amazing.
Good, how you doing?
Just a couple more minutes, everyone, but please, again, make sure that every student has someone in front of them for their presentation. Just one more minute, everyone. One more minute.
I like this. You know what?
Parents, board members, students, let's just wrap up your presentations now, and the board members can go back to their tables.
The words almost came out.
That was so cute. That was so cute.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine, sorry.
The good humor truck's out front.
Proud owner of the Oak Tree.
Students and adults, if we can end our presentations.
How you doing? This was terrific, very nice. Yes, that's excellent.
Yes.
I learned a few things, actually.
What kind of bank?
No.
What kind of bank is this drawn on?
That was excellent.
that was cool.
Yeah, that's interesting, right?
Memorize like that.
It's a tough thing. We used to have to memorize poems, like full poems.
Yeah.
But this makes so much more sense.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it's difficult to
It
memorize the
is.
whole
Oh, yeah. It's
period.
definitely an art to it.
Yeah.
That's what amazes me when I go to some of these shows.
Let's give the kids a big round of applause, please. I'd like to thank the teachers that were here this evening also to help out. That'd be Miss Russo, Mrs. Poland, Mrs. Polino, Mrs. Lizio, Mrs. Voza, Mrs. Kaufman, and especially Mrs. O'Donnell as well that helped out. Let's give them a round of applause. And thank you, members to the board. The board, thank you for always doing it for the kids. Thank you.
Dennis, Mr. Ventrilla, before you leave, very, very well done. I was very impressed with the kids and in your usual artistic form. It was a very different and unique format.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. V. I just wanted to acknowledge the kids. I think they did an excellent job in giving us a history lesson. But I think it's very apropos that today we're honoring the Teachers of the Year who support our students, and we have our parents here, and the board could not do what we do without the support of the parents. So I think you have the students, the staff, and the parents, and we just want to appreciate everything that everybody does to support us. Thank you. And you're going to wait for the encore on number 8? You're on the agenda twice.
You can surprise me later.
Okay. At this time, we will have our student board members' reports.
Sure. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be a Scoop Night fundraiser at Mendokers tomorrow night to benefit the National Honor Society. Monroe Township High School teachers will be there from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. scooping ice cream for customers, and the NHS will get 15% of the profits. The multicultural event titled Bangerfest is going on tomorrow night from 7 o'clock p.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. at the high school. Come out to the high school to enjoy a DJ, food, performances, and dance. The softball team won its 3rd division title in a row and have a record of 18-0. They are currently ranked number 10 in the state by the Star Ledger. Schools will be closed on May 26th due to Memorial Day. And there's a half day for students and staff in service on June 6th due to the senior prom. Thank you.
Oak Tree School has created a whole new meaning to the word diversity through their Cultural Expressions Committee. The Cultural Expressions Committee is comprised of various staff members across grade levels. The purpose of the committee is to promote cultural awareness and show unity within the community. This year, each class has been assigned a different country to represent that reflect the different cultures around the world, and each month an element of that country is introduced to the class, such as a book from that country, the national anthem, a dance, or a video clip. Thank you.
Thank you for your reports. At this time, we will go to the public forum. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the agenda, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and we will adhere to our 3-minute time limit.
Mark Klein, 7 Crenshaw Court. A couple of things. I know it was on your report, Mike, about purchasing additional iPads. They showed 100 iPads. Is that for additional students, or is that replacing broken iPads? And also, when is the last lease payment on the iPads? Because we haven't, and not only that, we haven't even had an update as to how successful the last iPads have been and whether that cured the problem that we had in the first. Does anybody have an answer? Hello?
Mr. Gorski, do you have the lease payments, or is that Dr. Gorman?
Don't count this as my time.
Yeah, no, the clock's off. With regard to your last question, in the 14-15 budget is the final lease payment to Apple for the recent iPads that have been deployed.
So that means they're paid off and we own them?
At the conclusion of that payment, yes.
So we don't have to go any further. That should be sufficient. Dr. Gorman?
What?
The iPads that we have now, the new iPads that we got, if they're going to be paid off next year, and if they've been successful, that means we should be able to continue with them. Am I correct?
We have a plan that we're going to discuss with the curriculum committee on June 11th.
Yeah.
We have an ISTE master technology plan with the iPads that includes all different stakeholders like Mr. Goodall, Mr. Washington. So we'll be providing a complete update in June, and then give options to the Board of Education about the warranty, about possibly refreshing, about looking at one-to-one, because digital learning is everywhere with the new park assessments and everything going on. So we will have a full update for you on June 11th.
So there's a possibility that these iPads will be replaced?
I have no,
Okay.
I have no opinion
Okay,
on
and
that.
last thing, 13D, under the business administrators.
On your other question, you asked about the 100 iPads?
Yes.
That is for new enrollment.
New enrollment, okay, so not broken ones.
Correct.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. 13D, under business administrator, I see that we're buying 4 buses, 5 vans, and a truck. Now, is this because we need it for additional population, or is this the law that we have from the state that we can only keep them a certain amount of years?
Madam? We have 4 new 54-passenger buses and 5 vans.
Right.
I recall that 3 of the 54-passenger buses were mandated by the state to be retired because they aged out at 15 years.
Okay.
And all but 1 of the vans are the same thing. They aged out and they need to be replaced. We are only buying 1 van and 1 bus, to my knowledge, that was non-mandated.
Okay, because again, I go back to the same thing that I complained about when I was on the board, is the fact that the state gives us no money. They mandate things that we have to pay for, and the ROD grants that we spoke about, they give us nothing, and now they're forcing us to buy new vehicles when we can't afford it. So I know that you've done the best that you can, and I would hope that the board members are doing the same thing, but man, this is not right. But anyway, I thank you for your time.
Sorry. Anyone else from the public? Seeing no one, we will close public forum and go to the approval of the minutes for the public Board of Education meeting of April 9th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Antelis, Mr. Kaufman, any additions or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Approval of the minutes for the closed session meeting of April 9th, 2014.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Kaufman, second by Mr. Notstein. Additions or corrections? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? You were not there, Mr. or- You were what? Okay, thank you. This time we will go to committee reports. Are there any committees that need to report this evening? Ms. Antelis.
We had a Buildings and Grounds meeting on May 8th. We had a presentation from Peter Bilton from this Routes for Safe Schools, and he talked about potential projects that could be funded up to $300,000. The Board of Education, if pursuing a grant, would be responsible for design costs. The application for the grant is June 30th and does require some monies to be allocated by the board for engineering investigation should the board wish to proceed. The administration shall review potential sidewalk and bridge projects for consideration and report back to the board to see if an application should be pursued. We talked about the office space for PPS and staff development. The administration provided an analysis of the lease negotiations along with copies of draft lease agreements and floor plan schematics for the 3 office suites proposed for the lease at Monroe Commons. And are you going to have any more for us tonight? I know you had sent an email.
Closed session.
We talked about the roof replacement and site work projects. Administration reviewed the bid results for the middle school replacement project. The lowest responsible bidder is a highly regarded contractor who has performed well for the district in the past. The low bid is significantly under budget, and therefore administration recommends an award to this contractor at this meeting. And we'll be doing that, I'm guessing, in your... Okay. And the trash and recycling contract. Administration reviewed the results of the contract award Administration reviewed the results of the contract award to Midco for trash recycling for the period July 1st, 2013 through June 30th, 2014, and recommend that the board authorize a contract extension in lieu of attempting to rebid. The current contract rates are very favorable, and it is not anticipated that a savings would be realized should the project be rebid. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a report? Mr. Prezioso?
Finance Committee meeting, we had a budget update. Michael gave a nice presentation. We also talked about the 2014-2015 State Aid Award, possibly in jeopardy due to the state fiscal crisis. And we had an update of the financial statement for February, March, and April for Mecca. And there was a recommendation for COVID administration to be brought back into House for the cost savings, and that was a great idea. Thank you. We also had consideration for a new substitute caller list. What was that? The name of that?
ASOP.
Okay. And we try to have a discussion on the relative non-mandated programs and general financial variables affecting the 2015-2016 budget. And we didn't get too far with that, but that's the extent of the finance meeting.
Thank you. Anyone else have a committee report? Ms. Arminio?
It's not really a report, just to say that there was a policy meeting held, and we discussed all of the policies except for one that was going to be on another agenda.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we have a need to move the closed session resolution to before the superintendent's report in order to discuss some personnel matters. So in order to do that, I would need to have a motion and a second, and
So moved.
Mr. Kaufman, second by Mr. Prezioso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Then we will go to the agenda, the closed session resolution on the agenda. Okay, the closed session resolution reads as follows. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subjects. Board to discuss the lease for pupil personnel services, personnel, non-renewals, harassment, intimidation, and bullying incident number 37, and other personnel matters. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. And we looked at it should probably take about 30 minutes. Mr. Kaufman? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Zarneski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Then at this time, the board will move into closed session. At this time, the board will move back into public session, and I believe there is a resolution to be read by Ms. Antelis.
Thank you. It is recommended that the Monroe Township Board of Education approve substantially in the form attached hereto the lease between the Board of Education as tenant and Bowen Group Limited as landlord for premises consisting of Suites A101 and Suite C203 in the building located at 239 Prospect Plains Road, Monroe Township, New Jersey, for a term of 3 years commencing on June 1st, 2014 and expiring on May 31st, 2017, with 2 successive one-year renewal options at the rent set forth in the attached lease. It is further recommended that the Board of Education approve the lease in substantially the form attached hereto for Suite C202 in the building located at 239 Prospect Plains Road, Monroe Township, New Jersey, for a term of 3 years commencing on September 1st, 2014 and expiring on May 31st, 2017, with 2 successive one-year renewal options at the same rent per square foot of the premises set forth in the attached lease for Suites A101 and C203. The Board of Education hereby authorizes the Superintendent of Schools to execute the leases when in final form after review and approval of the final form of each lease by the Board Business Administrator and the Board Attorney. It is further recommended that the Board of Education approve expenditures for the painting and carpeting of the premises being leased under the 2 leases described in this resolution.
Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Kaufman. Any comments or questions by the board? Seeing none, we will have a roll call. Mr. Gorski?
Ms. Armenio.
Yes.
Ms. Antelis.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella. Yes. Mr. Zarneski.
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman.
Yes.
Mr. Nostine.
Yes.
Mr. Poi.
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso.
Yes.
Mrs. Filiponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion unanimously passes.
Thank you very much. And at this time, we will go to the superintendent's report. Dr. Hamilton?
Thank you, Madam President. Moving on to the superintendent's report is your enrollment data for the month of April, comparing April 2014 to April 2013, and there is also a noted correction from last month. We were off by 1 student, and that notation is included in your report as well. You will also see our enrollment report for our out-of-district placements and our homebound student report. Also included as item number 3 are the fire drill and lockdown drills that have been conducted at each of our buildings, and that takes us to the personnel report. Madam Board President and members of the Board of Education, it is recommended by the superintendent that personnel items A, and my notes won't open, so I have to scroll through. A through X be approved by roll call vote, please.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella?
Second.
Second by Mr. Notstein. Any comments or questions for Dr. Hamilton? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis.
Yes, and recuse myself on items S like Sam and V like Victor.
So noted. Thank you. Ms. Armenio.
Yes, except I abstain on R.
So noted. Mr. Chiarella?
That's not going to help me.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes, recuse on RNS.
Robert and Sally? Correct? Thank you. Mr. Nostine?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes, but I recuse myself on R, S, and V.
So noted. Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes.
Okay.
Moving on, I just need one number.
A to Q.
No, I need the ID number. Item Y, it is recommended by the superintendent that employee identified by number 001960. It is recommended that that termination be effective June 4th, 2014.
So moved.
Mr. Notstein, Mr. Kaufman, comments, questions? Then we will have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Nostine?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes.
Thank you.
And moving on to board action items, it is recommended by the superintendent that board action items A through. My computer froze up. Q be approved by roll call vote.
Mr. Chiarella?
Second.
Second by Mr. Notstein.
Thank you.
Comments or questions for Dr. Hamilton? Mr.
Question. Item O, the first policy and regulation listed deals with prevention and treatment of sports-related concussions. And the policy, on the second page of the policy, it says in that top paragraph, the school district may require preseason baseline testing, but in the regulation, it says that we will require the baseline testing. And just based on some past experiences I've had where...
We put it on for you. It will be. Based off of our conversation, we want to mandate that for next year.
Okay, but my point is, I think it might be advisable in the policy that it states that the school district shall require as opposed to may require.
Yes, that is correct.
Oh, okay, because the policy that I see here says may.
Yeah, no, that's why we brought the policy back to follow up our discussions from last year to make sure that it does say shall. So
Okay.
I'll correct that and make sure it gets.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Notstein?
Just a quick question on item H. Is that a reappointment? And if not, who was it last year? The bullying coordinator. I think it's the reappointment. Correct?
It is the same person, and that's just a renewal.
Yep, thank you.
Anyone else? Then we will have a roll call on the board action items.
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella? Yes. Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Nostine?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, board action items A through Q passes.
Thank you.
And that concludes the superintendent's report for this evening.
Okay, then we will go to the business administrator's report. Mr. Gorski?
Madam Board President, contained in the business administrator's report are a couple noteworthy items I just wanted to present to the public briefly. Number one, an employee had offered and volunteered to take back COBRA administration services, which have historically been contracted out. And that saves the district approximately $8,000 a year in district-paid administration fees, and generates additional revenue from the participants in COBRA of about $1,500 to $2,000 a year to the district. So that's approximately a $10,000 savings and or income item to the district with no additional compensation requested by the employee. And the second item that's in my contract is the ASOP frontline contract. That is where the district and administration has recommended to automate the sub-caller process, and that also has very attractive savings to the district of about $22,000 per year, including the implementation fee for the first year, and even greater fees thereafter because the implementation fees don't apply. So, Madam Board President and members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through M be approved by consent roll call.
So moved.
Mr. Notstein, Mr. Chiarella, comments or questions for Mr. Gorski? Mr. Arminio?
Okay, Section 7, the Schedule A, list of equipment, page 50. On the iPads, are there any in there that are being purchased through one of the grants?
These are not grant-funded expenditures. These are general fund procured items.
And they're mostly for teachers? It says teachers' instructional use?
They are instructional iPads, yes.
And then new enrollment, these are for new students?
Yes, ma'am.
We need 100.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Prezioso?
Section 7, the iPad new enrollment. This is just for the high school, the 100 iPads?
Yes. Yes. Yes, that's correct.
There's 100 new students coming into the high school?
Yes, between the enrollment at the new students expected from Jamesburg and the increase in the 6th grade enrollment, yes.
Okay,
Or, I'm sorry, and the 8th grade graduates, yes.
Okay, and laptop replacement. That's for damaged laptops, or we're just replacing them to upgrade?
Those are for laptops that have greatly served beyond their expected life.
Okay, and scoreboard and sound system. If I'm not mistaken, we discussed something like that not too long ago, maybe this summer or before that, about how PTAs, and we were going to have some kind of monies from, not from the budget, but evidently this is coming out of the budget.
Yes. That's a rather large expenditure, and Dr. Hamilton and I did solicit external revenue sources for that, but we could not have commitments for this purchase.
There was another item, though, just for your information, that was included on the middle school budget, which was their sound system that was removed from the budget, and the PTA has absorbed the cost for that at the middle school.
So that's not on the list anymore?
It is not on the list.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Notstein?
Quick question with regard to the laptops. I see one is at 1,200 and the one with the higher quantity is at a higher amount. Why is that?
I'm not sure of that. You want to take that?
I don't know the answer to that.
It seems awful high for laptops also.
I could say this, there are different program needs for different laptops. We have several different models deployed in the district. Some, for example, for use like programs like AutoCAD, which requires a great deal more sophistication than others. If you're putting it on a laptop cart that's being pushed around the elementary school, it might not be so expensive. I don't recall exactly on those, but these went through Reggie Washington, our tech director, and I'm confident that the amounts here represent the most efficient way to procure these items. And these will all be purchased through state contract or Ed Data, our purchasing consortium, or bid.
Any other questions? Mr. Boy?
Looking at this same list of equipment that we're purchasing, I see that we're buying these Bluetooth keyboards for the park assessment for next year. Is this the first special purchase that we're making in order to be able to administer the park test? Do you know?
Yes, it is. That is also part of what the increase in the bandwidth is. That's also included on this. It is for park readiness.
Okay, and what did the state give us in terms of aid for implementing this park testing?
I believe it was $37,000.
It was $10 a student, or about $58,000.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yeah, I just have a question on the football field, the scoreboard. The football field is used by our high school team, right?
Yes.
why couldn't we use bond funds in order to fix that instead of, or are we doing that?
It's a very good question. Bond referendum funds could only be used for the specific project that the voters approved, and that was the construction of the Monroe Township High School and related apparatures. That field procurement was not part of the original question, and therefore any upgrades of that field, such as if we were looking to replace the turf or the scoreboard, would not be permissible with bond referendum money because they were not part of that whole project.
Any other, Mr. Prezioso?
Before I vote on this, on section 7, can we change the amount of 285 to 238? We're not counting the sound system anymore, correct?
No, that's a different sound. That sound system is needed. There was another one for the middle school that is no longer in there.
This is for the high school? the
Correct.
sound system?
These are all newly needed items that went through the Finance Committee meeting and were approved both with the preliminary budget and the final budget adoption.
Okay. Anything else? From Ms. Antelis?
About the scoreboard, are we purchasing it from the same people we got the last one from?
That's a good question. Dr. Hamilton, Jerry Tague, and I have solicited the strong recommendation of our athletic director and the high school principal to make the recommendation for this scoreboard so that there is an ownership of the particular model that's going to be purchased and erected. I don't know the history on the other scoreboard, but I think it's fair to say that we did not get our money's worth. And the scoreboard has become very problematic and unreliable at games. It uses wireless technology to some extent and is just unreliable. So in order to emphasize that the scoreboard that the board is investing in this time, the athletic director and the high school principal were intimately involved in the selection and will take ownership of such.
Anyone else? Then we will have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Nostine?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes, but I recuse myself on item K.
So noted. Mr. Prezioso?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes, and I recuse myself on item K.
So noted. Action item passes, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Hamilton, did you have a
Yes.
correction in your report?
There is a correction on personnel item Y that I read into the minutes for tonight on the personnel ID number. It's off by 1 digit. So I'd like to ask for a motion to rescind the previous read personnel item Y so that I can read a new one in.
So moved.
Mr. Kaufman, Mr. Chiarella, we don't have to have a roll call on that, do we? Or do we?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we'll have roll call.
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Nostine?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso? Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, rescindment passes.
And new personnel action item Y reads as follows. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the termination of employee 001060
Is there a motion?
by the board effective June 4th, 2014. The superintendent and business administrative board secretary are hereby authorized and directed to take all necessary steps to implement this action of the Board of Education.
Second.
Mr. Chiarella, Ms. Antelis, comments or questions? We will have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman? Mr. Nostine?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso? Absent. Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, new item Y passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to the board president's report, and I just have a few very small items. The first is I want to remind any of the board members who have not yet completed the superintendent evaluation to please do so as soon as possible, hopefully by the end of this week. And we will have to set a date before our next scheduled board meeting so that we can have the discussion. We are currently working on dates for board retreat and some training, and as soon as we hear from New Jersey school boards, we will forward you some information. There will be a senior awards program on Thursday, May 22nd, 6:30 p.m. at the high school auditorium, and I think it would be nice for the board members and the public to attend to support our senior students as they participate in this very exciting and a very generous evening. And lastly, our district is working in collaboration with the township to improve the baseball field at Oak Tree School. The district has in their budget offered to pay for the supplies and the labor, but the township offered to do the labor, which has saved us approximately $10,000 in our budget. And it's another area where the township and the school district are working together as shared services that will benefit the whole community. And that concludes my report. So we will go to number 15 on the agenda. Is there any business from any other member of the Board of Education? Mr. Chiarella.
Yeah, it's just really a question. I was reading that there's some legislation that has been submitted to offer breakfast to students, and there would be a reimbursement, I guess, to those districts based upon free and reduced lunch participation. And I'm wondering where we would fit into that scheme, you know, and if that's something that's going to be coming to Monroe, if that passes. It looked like it was conditional based upon how many free and reduced lunch children we had and that kind of thing.
Our free and reduced lunch numbers are very low. So if that passes, what we would need to do is look at the feasibility of being able to provide that and increasing the staff to be on hand, which would also include supervision of students, and see if it's if the cost benefit, it makes sense for us to do that.
Anyone else? Ms. Arminio?
I just want to make mention on item 18, the adjournment. On the second paragraph, it talks about no more than 3 cameras may be used at any time as a regulation for here. And we have 3 cameras, but they're all Board of Ed. I'd like to have that discussion maybe another time, and we can change that wording. Because if it's 3 cameras used at any time, that means a member of the public can't bring a camera in and record the meeting. And we don't have to have a discussion now. I just want to point that out.
We'll look at the policy, see what the policy says, and update the policy.
No, the policy needs to be changed, because if there's 3 cameras that are all being controlled by the Board of Ed for video, that automatically excludes the public. So I think that it should be removed, and we should just change it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Notstein?
I just want to mention it was fantastic tonight. I was glad I got invited to the Teacher Appreciation Awards, and the Teacher of the Year actually is even more profound. What we saw tonight, it was just fantastic, very moving. A lot of times, what we do up here is sometimes you feel that you're removed from the actions of every day and the hard work that's being done by the staff out there. When you go to something like that, it really helps us to appreciate just how lucky we are to have the staff that we have. So I'd like to make that comment and to commend those teachers and all the other teachers who work so hard in our district, because it's truly moving to see what's being done. Secondly, a lot of times it doesn't always look like what we're doing up here even affects children, or that we're even talking about children, but everything that we do up here, at some point, one way or the other, is about the children. And it was great to see the children here tonight and actually interact a little with them and get to really appreciate, how lucky we are to have the district that we have. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Antelis?
I missed the last meeting, so I just wanted to make some comments about the achievement of it being number 39. And I want to thank the principal, Mr. Goodall, the staff at the high school, and actually it's a combination of the whole district, but what it really boils down to is the administration. The administration doing a great job of leadership, Mr. Gorman, Dr. Hamilton, Mr. Gorski, great job. I commend you. And second, I'd like to talk about the Monroe Education Foundation basketball game. I'd like to thank the staff of this district for their participation, coming out, volunteering, no pressure. They just came out, played basketball. We raised a good amount of money for Mikey, and I believe we're going to give you the check to present to the family.
Okay,
so
great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Arminio?
Just a quick comment, and I shouldn't need to be reminded, but thanks, Tom. We also had a delicious dinner tonight prepared by the students and staff, and it was excellent, and being a foodie, I can appreciate that. But also, what the children did, I was moved to tears by their performance, and I do thank all the exceptional teachers in the district for moving the children into such a fine educational space, and I appreciate everyone's efforts on that. But the kids did a great job, from the young ones tonight to the ones in the bistro. So kudos to all the exceptional teachers, and especially teachers of the year, but to the children and the parents as well. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, public forum. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. And again,
97 Crenshaw.
3 minutes.
What is the enrollment projection for next year, Dr. Hamilton?
I don't have that number at the top of my head, Ms. Klein, but I'll be glad to send it to you.
I missed the last meeting, so I apologize. Also, the laptops that are being replaced, how old were they?
I don't know that offhand. You know that, Jeff?
Not all of them, but the lifespan is usually 3 to 5 years.
They were close. They were between 5 and 7 years.
Okay, so that lasted 7 years, and the iPads we changed after 8 months, and now we don't know what's going to happen 3 years later. A quickie, if you read in today's paper, Zuckerberg from, the famous Zuckerberg from Facebook, that was going to donate $100 million to Newark. Whatever he's paid, it had to be matching. Whatever they have spent so far, they found it to be wasted. So I'm waiting to get another report as to how it was wasted. The last thing, and this we've had before, is Facebook is a great, great tool. And there was a threat made against me on Facebook. And as it can be, it's the way somebody interprets it. It's harassment, intimidation, and a threat. I ask that the person, the board member, who wrote it and sent it out, and we have copies, cease and desists from attacks on me. This is not the first time. If it happens again, I will press charges at the police department and do what we have to do here for ethics. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else from the public?
Robert Roach, 18 Muirfield Boulevard. The $100 increase in the iPads, I assume that's the difference between there's more students coming in than leaving, or is there lossage where there's breakage of the iPads that we require more of them, or can you explain that?
It's purely enrollment. We're covered under our warranty for any damages.
Okay. And Ms. Antilles was talking about the new lease. I wonder if she can give us the figures on that as to what the rental is per month, or someone can.
We can't do that at this time because until the lease is actually executed, we can't give out that information.
Well, it was just voted on, right?
It was, I don't think there were any numbers in that lease, in that resolution.
Well, how could you vote to approve a lease if you don't know how much it's going to cost you? I mean, that's dereliction of duty.
Well, the board knows, but
Well, the
lease
board
has-
knows. If the board knows, why doesn't the public know?
Because it's not it's a closed session item until the lease is executed. And at the end of the discussion, when the discussion in closed session can be discussed to the public, when there's no confidentiality left.
So then we have to
This
then
time-
wait till the lease is signed by the board members.
Yes.
Before we could even say whether we think they should approve it or not approve it. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a closed session item, and it has not been executed, and there's still a need for confidentiality.
That's primarily because we're still in negotiations, so we can't publicly disclose what we are still negotiating.
Well, okay, I can understand that. But then I guess my question is, if you're still negotiating, maybe I missed something in what was being approved. I thought what was being approved, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the board voted to approve the lease, not to approve negotiation of the lease. I thought that was done last time.
The resolution says substantially, meaning that there were still items that needed to be infused in that lease, and empowering the superintendent, the board attorney, and the business administrator to finish those final items in order to execute. But it is substantially complete.
Okay, so no lease has been approved at this point in time.
Not a final lease. It has not been executed.
I'll accept your answer.
Anyone else from the public?
Good evening, Chrissy Skirby, 8 Seminole Court. I just wanted to commend you, Dr. Hamilton, for today, putting all of the schools on a shelter in place to protect every student in Monroe. I know as a parent, it made me very nervous, but to know that you took immediate action and made sure that every student in the district was safe, just want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
Had a question, though. I notice on the agenda, there's lockdown drills and fire drills. Are there any shelter-in-place drills? I'm just a little, I guess, unfamiliar exactly what happens during that.
They actually fall under the umbrella of safety drills, and they are conducted. But the report, we don't list every drill that's conducted in the report. But yes, the safety drills are conducted.
Okay. And also wanted to congratulate the district, I guess the high school, Dr. Goodall, for being recognized as the number 39. I think that is a great accomplishment for Monroe. I just hope that we see our number going lower and lower. Maybe one day we'll reach number 1. But I think that is a true showing of our teachers and our students and the support of the parents. And I really hope that this district continues to move forward. It's nice to hear good news like that. There's a lot of negativity up at the microphone a lot, asking you to cut things. Sometimes teachers feel like there's a lack of support for them. They want, cut stipends, cut this, they get paid too much. They truly don't. And I think tonight was a very good reflection of how dedicated our teachers are to our students. We had a room full of teachers here from Applegarth. We also had a lot of staff from all the other schools recognizing the Teacher of the Year. So I just want to say our teachers are truly dedicated in this district and really should be respected. And hopefully we can continue to do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Hi, I'm Katie Alvarez, 290 Road Hall Road. I don't usually go to board meetings and certainly never speak at them, but I think it's really important to bring up the terminated employee, why on the agenda, because I didn't see it on the agenda. So I'm new to the district this year. We moved from Manalapan, another fabulous district, and my son has had issues with the bus since he started in our old district. And the bus driver that he has got him to like going on the bus, got him to like going to school, has been nothing but fabulous. And I actually had a meeting a couple months ago with the school and was raving about how fabulous the bus driver and the aide on the bus are and what they did for my son. In your words, Dr. Hamilton, on the website, it says that all decisions are made on the premise that the children must come first. I think that if this bus driver is terminated, that would not be the case, because she's done nothing to the children but be wonderful. And I would ask that you would reconsider your decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Mayo, 48 Linwood Drive. I just have a quick question. Do you have an estimate of how much we have spent on getting ready for the park?
That number offhand?
I don't know what that would entail. What do you, I mean, to me, it's preparation on the Common Core state standards. Are you talking about just the technology component?
Well, the technology and, you know, whatever else encompasses. You know, did we have to buy more laptops for the park and, you know, training for the teachers and...
Yes.
We could probably begin to calculate that information for you specifically, but we would have to associate a cost attributed to training staff, the keyboards, the bandwidth, the curriculum documents that had to be addressed, and of course ultimately purchasing the test itself. So those numbers aren't all finalized yet, but we could begin to tabulate that.
Okay. All right. I'll look forward to that. Thanks.
Anyone else from the public?
Corey Masters, 9 Michaela Court. Do we know when the next ad hoc committee meeting is?
No, I don't think we've had one set up. We were waiting for the redistricting report, and I'm not sure that we've gotten that in yet.
It is, we expect it any day now, actually.
Okay.
We will be having a superintendent's advisory meeting where we will review that data. That meeting, as I already said, I don't have it in my head, but after we review that data, then we will present it to the board and then ultimately the ad hoc committee.
Okay, so let me ask, is there a possibility that we could redistrict for September, or that you're talking about for the following school year?
Oh, no, for the following year.
Okay, so then my second question is, I know that we've already talked about adding in a half-day kindergarten for Oak Tree for next year. And I know there's going to be at least, they're talking about one more section for first grade. But that, even with one more section, that already leaves the first grades already at 19 at Oak Tree, not including all the other move-ins and the full-day Ks. Is there possible that there will be an 8th section of first grade then? Because that would make it 7 then if we add in one more, because there's 6 now.
I don't want to make that commitment.
Okay.
Because there's a lot that goes into that. One is parity and equity across the district.
Right.
So if those numbers increase, we certainly don't want 30 kids in first grade class.
Right. Well, it's just that I know, like, currently, you know, we have 16 kids at our Berkeley Brook second grade, and there's 28, at least 3 of the kids, second grades in Oak Tree. That's crazy talk. You know, I mean, I'm almost ready to, drive over to Brookside just to get, that's a lot less kids. So I just don't know, are we planning on making more sections for third grade for next year so we can get some of those 28s down to, 22?
We have been in regular conversations with the principal about potential staffing implications, and
Okay.
I've also shared that with the personnel committee.
Okay.
So we have a plan in place, but a lot of that won't be determined until we see ultimately what those enrollment numbers are going to look like over the summer.
Okay.
But
So
the
then-
patterns, what we usually look at are patterns, and the patterns at Oak Tree are quite an anomaly this year.
Right.
So we don't have historical data that we can really rely on to help us make that prediction.
I know, I'm just concerned because I know the parents are starting to all get concerned, and even the staff. But we can't really do anything about it come, August 15th, because the 1 year, I don't think my son was in first grade, but I think some of the other ones, we had to add an additional first grade in, like, right before school started. If we know we're already at 19 kids, or at 25, isn't it easier just to try to add this section in now rather than try to rush into everything in August?
We are moving a section from Barclay Brook to Oak Tree.
Of which grade?
I can't tell you that.
Oh, okay. But they're all overcrowded. I mean, I just pulled the sheet today to do book fair flyers, and there's 3 28s in second grade. There's a couple 27s, and the one special ed class is the small class of 25. That's not really a small class when you have 14 or 16 at Barclay Brook. It's just not. It's not fair.
Right.
And the parents are starting to get really upset for obvious reasons. So if we could start looking at that and maybe try to even things out a little bit, that would go a long way, even if it's just for next year.
Mrs. Dinsmore has been strongly advocating for additional staff.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
One last thing. This is Mark
Could you-
Klein,
oh, okay.
7 Crenshaw. The problem that we have, as was stated at Oak Tree, is, and Mr. Chirilla is now going to be on the planning board, so he should be able to do what I did on the zoning board, is to follow up on things that come up, applications that come up. Most of your new family developments are in the southern part of town, serviced by Applegarth and Oak Tree. And something has to be done. That's where all of your new developments are. You got there, and then you have the existing ones. The one that Lou Masters lives in Stratford is still building. You have Renaissance Properties that got the conversion approval. They sold out to Toll. They're building. Monroe Chase is building. All of your growth, the bulk of your growth is that part of town, and that has to be addressed between Applegarth and Oak Tree. Thank you.
That's what we're hoping that the ad hoc committee will help us with.
Good evening, Ira Tesler, 11 Elliott Drive. Would like to make the Board of Education staff and public aware. On Monday, May 19th, there's going to be a kickball game at the Monroe Township Middle School in the gym. It's called Kicks for a Cause. It's the Barclay Brook versus Brookside staff. It's sponsored by the Monroe Education Foundation, and all the money raised in that event are going to a family, a Barclay Brook family, whose 6-year-old child was diagnosed with cancer. So it's a small donation, $5 for adults, $2 students, so it would be really nice for as many as the Board of Education staff, families, public come and to support the cause. Again, it's on Monday, May 19th at the middle school gym at 6 p.m. Thank you.
6 p.m. Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public wish to speak?
Hi, Lou Masters, 9 McKellar. The Oak Tree Garden Day was last weekend. We had a great turnout, parents, admins, administrators, teachers, staff. Special thanks to Mr. Gleason, Mr. Temple, and I call him Kevin the janitor. Sorry, that's how I know him. Wonderful experience for the kids and the community came out, and at zero cost. It was actually no cost. Everything was donated, all the seeds, all the plants. I just wanted to thank everyone that came by, and if you want to come by, take a look. I mean, nothing's growing yet. It's just, you're going to see leaves. But if you want to come by, the strawberries are good. They go fast, so that's a good one, and the cucumbers, a lot of people from the town. And what Mrs. Arminio said, yeah, if you just change that to no more than 3 cameras per member of the public, I think that's a really, because if you just say more than 3 cameras, even if you exclude it, and I bring in 3 cameras, and nobody else could bring in not that I would, but that would actually fix that. But it's a good catch. Thank you. That was it.
Thank you. And maybe next time you could bring us all a salad. Okay. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Okay, seeing no one, we will close the public forum, and we need to schedule a Board of Education meeting before June 11th. And you probably don't.
Madam President? Madam President?
Oh,
I do have a, based on the public session that we just had, I think it might be beneficial, at least informative, if as we go forward with this park testing, if we could somehow keep track of the money that we are spending beyond the teacher training part, because I know that's kind of tough. But there are some things that are probably very definitive, like the increase in bandwidth, whether or not we had to check, we're purchasing these Bluetooth laptops, that type of thing. And Dr. Hamilton, you said something tonight that really surprised me. The state requires that we give this park test, and we have to actually pay. I know somebody has to pay for printing up the test itself, but we have to pay for those tests. Is that correct?
We generally pay for the assessments, particularly replacements tests that need to be replaced, or if there's any kind of breach or things of that sort. Yes, we do have to pay for those things.
But do we have to pay for the actual test the first time out?
It is my understanding we will have to pay a fee for the actual test. Now, the way they will calculate it, I don't know, since it's an online item this time. So I don't know what that cost is going to be, but I do anticipate.
Yeah, it's not a hard copy, is it?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. But I think it might be helpful, because next year will be our first year to do it. If we have some idea of how much we're having to spend on that, and then from that deduct how much aid we're getting from the state to see actually how much out of our own money we're having to pay for this mandated testing. If somehow that could be done, that would be beneficial.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Mr. Prezioso?
Can't we use the iPads for keyboards?
Not for the iPads have a touch board on them, but the park assessment, we can't use them for that assessment. We have to have the Bluetooth, we have to have another keyboard for the assessment. They won't allow us to use just the touch screen.
But we are only, it's not, we don't need one for every laptop, iPad. We just have a station and we set kids through. So it attaches to the iPad and it's just a testing center. So it's not like we have to purchase Bluetooth keyboards for every iPad.
And those are the keyboards that cost $71 each?
Yeah.
That's correct.
And that'll suffice for the whole school.
Any other questions? Mr. Notstein?
Just a quick thing. Ms. Masters reminded me that about the ad hoc committee. I'd like to make a motion that the next ad hoc committee be an announced meeting, so that it's an open public meeting, so that all the board members could attend.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Chiarella seconded.
Hold on one second. Ad hoc special meeting open to the full board.
But it's no longer ad
public.
hoc at that point. It's a public meeting.
It's still for the purposes of the ad hoc.
So we can do that?
Yeah, you can do it.
We don't have one
We
now.
don't have one. But his motion is actually to have a public meeting
Whenever.
to, essentially, your motion, if I understand you correctly, is to have a public meeting to discuss the,
The next ad hoc be a public meeting.
That's correct. And then since we don't have a date, I just
Right.
said the next ad hoc
Right.
committee.
And Mr. Chiarella second that.
Okay.
Any comments or questions? Then we'll,
Ms. Antelis?
Yes.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Poi?
Yes.
Mr. Prezioso?
Yes.
Mrs. Kolpanowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes.
okay, and we'll do that. So now we need to set a date for those board members who can participate in the superintendent's evaluation. And we're looking at the first week in June.
I won't be around.
You won't be around? How about the last week in May?
I'll be out the last week in May, first week in June. Well, what date, the last weekend?
Well, I don't know how many of you have not finished your evaluations yet, because they have to go to school boards, and then they have to calculate them and then send them back to me. That should take about 2 weeks, but we need to do it before the 11th of June. And when you're going to be away the whole week? Yes. We could do it the 9th. Would everybody be available on the 9th of June?
Yes.
Monday, the 9th? So we'll have a meeting on the 9th, and that would be just to discuss the superintendent's evaluation.
Okay, is that?
It's a Monday. And then we have a meeting on the 11th. Okay.
Then, do it through resolution.
Okay. So I need a motion from a member of the board to have a special Board of Education meeting on the 9th of June to discuss the superintendent evaluation.
I motion to have a special Board of Education meeting on the 9th of June to discuss
Okay.
superintendent evaluation.
Would you like to add 7:00 p.m. to that?
Yes, thank you. I would like to add 7:00 p.m.
And
to
Mr.
that.
I will
Chiarella?
second the 7 p.m. also.
Okay. We will have a roll call.
Ms. Antelis?
Recuse myself.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yes.
Mr. Zarneski?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman?
Recuse.
Mr. Nostine?
Yes.
Mr. Foy? Yes. Mr. Zioso?
Yes.
Mrs. Kolpanowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes.
Okay?
That meeting's going to be held here.
Yes.
And that's all closed.
That would be a closed session meeting. Okay? Then our next scheduled Board of Education meeting will be on Monday, June 9th, 7:00 PM at the high school to discuss the superintendent's evaluation. That will be a closed session meeting. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Ms. Santalis?
I know, somebody
Mr.
beat me.
Chiarella? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? And the meeting is adjourned.